I've been watching the news a lot in the last few weeks, and I've noticed many innocent people being set free from jail. Seeing how happy they are to be free after spending years behind bars is incredible. Here are some reactions from innocent convicts. Man sentenced to life in prison after a false confession. According to the Innocence Project, a 30-year-old man was sentenced to life in prison after a false confession. The man's DNA did not match that of the crime scene, and he had an alibi for his time at the location of the crime. However, before being exonerated by DNA evidence and other evidence, he spent 15 years on death row for a murder he didn't commit. Man sentenced to 50 years for child molestation is proven innocent. When I was released, I felt like I was a new man. The government had told me they were making an example of me because of my crimes and would not give me a chance to prove my innocence. They even said they would release the actual DNA results saying I was guilty since there was no way for them to prove otherwise. When my family and friends got word that I had been released due to false charges and evidence being used against me, it hurt them because everyone thought this man was guilty. But now we know better. There were many reasons why he was convicted and how he ended up with these charges against him in the first place, including his own mistakes made during his lifetime, which led directly back to prison time again. Guy jailed for 30 years after being framed released from prison and reacts. You may wonder what it's like to be released from prison after 30 years. Well, we got an answer for you. Guy jailed for 30 years after being framed released from prison and reacts. Man sentenced to 75 years for robbery walks free. A man sentenced to 75 years in prison for a robbery that he did not commit walked free this week after it was proven he was innocent. The man, whose name has not been released, was locked up for 19 years when his cousin falsely confessed on his behalf. The cousin told police that he and the accused had been chased by two men threatening them with guns and knives before they robbed them at gunpoint outside an apartment complex near Chicago's O'Hare Airport. He also said that while being chased by police officers and their vehicles, one officer fired shots at him but missed, and then fired again when he fell, which happened because there were no bullets left in his gun. Man jailed after a false confession is proven innocent. As you can imagine, this is a challenging situation for everyone involved. The man has spent 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. But unfortunately, he was released only after DNA evidence proved that he was innocent and DNA from the natural killer was found at the crime scene. The fact that this man's confession was proven false does not make him any less guilty or deserving of punishment. However, it does show how easily we can be manipulated into believing something that isn't true when presented with false information by police officers who have a plan to pursue at all costs, and sometimes even if there isn't one. The lesson here is simple: always think before speaking. If someone asks you questions about yourself or your life history, ask them why they want those answers, and then verify what they say by asking someone who knows you well instead. We hear about people being set free from jail all the time, but watching their reactions is incredible. In this guy's case, he was convicted of murder and spent 15 years in jail. After all that time, he was released, and you can imagine his reaction when he realized it was all a big mistake. His smile will make your heart melt. I hope that you found this video to be helpful. I tried to share as many stories and reactions of wrongly convicted people as possible because it's important to know what it feels like when justice is done right and how much these men and women have been through. Thank you for reading.